Everyone, I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick coming to you live on KREM 2 Plus for this exclusive weather stream on our Weather Impact Alert Day, both for today and for Wednesday as well. It is August 12th, still hot outside with temperatures likely going to once again eclipse that 95-degree mark. But we've also added Wednesday as a Weather Impact Alert Day as well, not necessarily for the heat, but the high fire danger. So these next 2 days, both alert days, both for the heat and the high fire danger respectively here. So let's start with the update on those alerts all throughout the region here. There is a expansion of the extreme heat warnings for areas of central and southeastern Washington. So now Moses Lake, Wenatchee, and Chelan to go along with areas near Lewiston, Pomeroy, and Dayton now included in the extreme heat warnings, with the rest of the region still under a heat advisory for another day. So the regions that are now warned have expected temperatures of about 100 degrees and above. Triple-digit heat, very much incredibly hot out there, with mid-90s a bit more likely in the orange-shaded areas. So just a small update in terms of moving some areas into advisory to upgraded warning criteria. And again, the warning, the more severe of these two types of alerts. So that's today, and it will expire at 8 p.m. just before sunset as the temperatures start to ease into the night. Now, tomorrow, the new alerts are going to be, well, at the moment, they're fire weather watches, but these will get upgraded into red flag warnings. Effectively just waiting for the 2 p.m. update from the National Weather Service office here in Spokane to basically turn these over from watches into warnings, as they would typically do here. But since we're a day out, we use the watch criteria at first, and then once we are in that scenario, we go into the warning phase here. So this is the fire danger alert due to the strengthening of the winds for tomorrow, up to 35-mile-per-hour westerly winds, basically in advance of an incoming storm system. No rain expected tomorrow. It's just going to be dry, hot, and windy, and thus fire conditions will be at critical levels. We'll cover more of that in detail in a moment, but let's go over today's forecast. Obviously, just incredibly hot outside. Once again, temperatures in the mid-90s for those highest temperatures. 96 degrees Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, 94 on the Palouse, and you see the triple-digit heat for central Washington today. 100 in Moses Lake, Grand Coulee, Omak, Chelan, 101 in Wenatchee. Hottest spot will be lower Columbia Basin. Southern Washington, Tri-Cities pushing about 104 degrees for this afternoon. So at this level of heat, air conditioning is required. And that's why we have the heat advisories. For most of us that have easy access to air conditioning, no big deal. We can stay cool quite easily. But obviously more vulnerable populations, those that have to be outside for several hours, it's not that easy. And it is obviously vital to make sure that you have access to water and air conditioning at some point during the day, because if you have to be outside for 8 full hours, say in a row, your body will basically tell you. The profuse sweating would be a sign of heat exhaustion, and when you stop sweating, that's actually heat stroke, which can be very, very dangerous. So obviously just monitor your own vital signs and make sure it does not come to those levels. In terms of the heat for mid-August here, we are above average by a factor of 11 degrees for this afternoon, and it is close to record highs. The record's 99. That was set back in 1971. So in shouting distance of the record here, probably will fall just shy, because this summer has not been the summer of the highest or most extreme of heat scenarios in Spokane. We've only gotten to 97 on a couple occasions. Just looks like we've been there or thereabouts. So that's what this summer has really featured, a lot more mid-90s as opposed to that super extreme 100 plus or record-breaking heat. But I will see, when you count the urban heat island effect, if you're in the more concrete dense areas like a downtown core or a commercial sector, you're really pushing those temperatures up by a factor of 6 to 10 degrees. So while our forecast for 96 is trying to match the airport's observation by the end of the day, just realize that if you're in this environment, it doesn't just feel hotter, it is going to be hotter. And remember, temperatures are calculated in the shade as well. So if you're standing in the direct sunlight, you are absorbing a lot more direct heat from the sunshine, which obviously is a big factor as well. So again, that's just kind of an example of where a 95-degree forecast would really take you between an urban residential, the difference between residential areas, suburban versus with a lot more trees out there. Again, the vegetation makes a big difference versus that more concrete jungle-esque. Now we're going to turn the page into Wednesday here, and this is where the weather is going to get critical in terms of fire danger. I once again push out the fire weather watches to be red flag warnings for tomorrow. We know very well for the inland Northwest that dry and windy days lead to high fire danger days. But now the context here is we're entering the very last stage of the summer season, and August and sometimes very early September is that window, about that 3-4 week window where fire danger can be at their most extreme. So this is really concerning to see this late in the season here. The ground is absolutely parched. We have severe and even extreme drought conditions in the region. So it is super important, vital that we do any kind of fire mitigation and prevention actions to make sure that we ourselves don't start new fires that are going to take advantage of those weather conditions. These are basically the 4 things that I don't just recommend, but strongly recommend you follow here. First of all, the burn bans. No burning, no campfires, no bonfires. Way too windy for those actions. Obviously, debris burns would count in that. And we have seen that be a problem for the inland Northwest already this summer as debris burns getting out of control. Number 2, don't throw out cigarettes. Make sure you actually use the ashtray because that can oftentimes lead to that first spark that sparks the full wildfire. So that is obviously critical as well. Don't park on dry grass. This was something that even I learned when I moved to the inland Northwest. It is important that your car with the running engine doesn't provide the heat for a dry plot of land. So do avoid that. Again, don't park on dry grass because that could lead to a wildfire as well. And finally, secure loose chains. This is something that usually should be done by the end of the winter time, but it is a good reminder that the chains dragging on the ground, if they are not well secured, can themselves cause sparks. So these are really the 4 fire prevention actions that we all need to follow just to give us that extra edge to prevent wildfires from starting in the first place. Again, the environment tomorrow, dry, hot, and windy with wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour. Forecasting fire danger is so tricky, especially as a meteorologist, because it's different than, say, tornado forecasting. Because tornadoes, we can look at the environment and say this is how likely it would be. With wildfires, well, 90% of them are human caused, and that is impossible to forecast. So we're not forecasting new wildfire starts. We're forecasting the fact that if there are new wildfires, they're going to burn fast and they're going to burn very hot very quickly in a weather environment like tomorrow. So that's why we have this word of caution, and that's why we use our weather impact alert days for high fire danger days. And again, it is so important at this stage of the summer season because it does get critical in late August and even early September. Winds will calm down a little bit for Thursday, so that's why Wednesday is really this key day. Now we'll take you to the weather map here. It's this cold front that's going to increase the winds heading into Wednesday here. All that wind energy is really out in front of the cold front, or in this case, just to the south here. This does not arrive soon enough to quell the heat. In fact, the timestamp here is 11 p.m. Wednesday night, so the cooler air doesn't even rush in until Thursday. So high temperatures are still 90s on Wednesday with that windy environment. After that, the temperatures definitely settle down. It also unlocks the possibility of yet another storm to come in its wake. This one looks a lot more powerful and very much rain covered for most of the Pacific Northwest. Big question is how much of that rain will actually cross the Cascades and get into the inland Northwest. Should we get rain, it would be late Friday and into Saturday. So the weekend is looking cooler with at least a chance of rain. But again, the priority for now are these front 2 days of the forecast. Today, just an extension of the heat like what we saw yesterday. High temperatures mid-90s and pushing about 100 degrees for central Washington. Tomorrow, it's about the windy conditions and the heightened fire danger that will provide. So wind gusts upwards of 30 or 35 miles per hour. So again, fire mitigation and fire prevention actions are vital on a day like Wednesday. The rest of the forecast will be a lot more pleasant and really comfortable weather-wise as that temperature does subside into the 80s and 70s. But for today, heat advisories continue for Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and Pullman for temperatures in the mid-90s, and extreme heat warnings in effect for Moses Lake, Wenatchee, and Lewiston. Temperatures above 100 degrees in that region. Stay cool and safe, everyone, and I will see you later on today at the KREM 2 News at noon. I've been meteorologist Thomas Patrick. You can always stay connected at KREM.com. Have a great day, everyone.